ಹಲೋ ಗೌತಮ್, ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಮ್ಮನಿಂದ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಏನಾದ್ರು?
Ankit, mute all participants in case if others are active. Ankit, have you mute all the participants?
Yes.
We will wait 2 to 3 minutes more and then we will start.
Last है ना?
हो गया अंकित? Sir, can we start, sir?
Yes.
Ankit, we will wait or we can start. Is there any in a waiting room? You are unmute.
We can start.
We can start, sir. Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to our esteemed speaker, Sri Arup Das Gupta, sir, and to our valuable audience members to this significant webinar on ASMT-10 to so-called notice. In the next few hours, we will delve into the intricacies of ASMT-10 issued under GST and exploring its implications, process, and best practices. We eagerly anticipate your insights and guidance to shed light on the crucial subject matter. Let us utilize this opportunity to deepen our understanding on the subject matter and gain valuable insight from CA Arup Das Gupta, sir. I hope that this webinar will equip us with practical knowledge and tools to navigate the complexities of GST notices more effectively. Now I am introducing our today's speaker, Arup Das Gupta, sir. Arup Das, sir, he is a FCA, ACS, and CISA with more than 2 decades of experience and based out of City of Joy, Kolkata. Rasgulla, sir, very famous sweets from the Kolkata, sir. He has hands-on experience in providing opinion advisory services on indirect tax matters to some leading corporates, carrying out a strategic review of business processes to evaluate the GST implications, replying to so-called notices, undertaking litigation services, and representation before the adjudicating authorities and appellate authorities. He was also co-opted member of IDTC EIRC for the financial year 1920. He has published articles in journals and leading online websites, has an article with a view of more than 2 million. Great, sir. He has trained students, professionals, senior government officers, professional bodies, and trade bodies on GST and other IDT related topics across multiple states in India. He is a faculty on GST with the ICI, NACIN, and some of the leading universities. He is passionate about providing solutions to issues faced by trade bodies and has been a partner in his since inception of GST, because of which he had the opportunity to represent before the Honorable Finance Minister MS and Sitaraman, Revenue Secretary, CBIC Chairman, and members, CEO GST, and other key stakeholders the issue faced by trade. While he is away from indirect taxation, startup ideas keep engaged as he tries to mentor on pro bono. The startup with his huge exposure of last 20 years in the areas of compliances, taxation, and business restructuring. Now I am hand over to the Arup Das Gupta sir for delivering us a great session. Thank you very much, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you, first of all, to Ankit and to GST Corner for having this wonderful opportunity of discussing this important burning topic as on date. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, ASMT-10 is something which we are all are facing. Whoever is practicing GST, I think he has been touched some way or the other by one ASMT-10 at least during the last 1 year, and we are slowly learning how to reply to the ASMT-10 notices and also understanding the repercussions of the ASMT-10 notice. Apart from that, from the taxpayer's perspective, there are a lot of questions that are being asked by the taxpayer. That whether you can actually ask things from the balance sheet. What will happen if I don't give the documents? What happens if I have already paid the tax, still it is showing in ASMT-10. So today's discussion is a practical oriented workshop kind of a structure that we have planned, wherein we'll be discussing about the provisions, yes, but it will be more on the case study type discussions. So before I begin, I'll start with the standard disclaimer that this is just for the sake of discussing on GST, and this does not have any legal value. So neither GST Corner nor Arup Das Gupta will be responsible for any of the actions taken on the basis of today's discussions. I would also like to give credits to my friend Venu, Unniji, and Arpitji, and also to my team member Somadeep, who has helped me on this particular presentation. And of course, on GST Corner for taking up this issue, on handling this, because many people will be greatly benefited from this discussion.
Thank you, sir.
So I will straight away go to today's first case study. So as I told you, आज का जो भी discussion होगा, that will be only on the basis of the practical orientations, because Section 61 and Rule 99, if you discuss, it will take us hardly 10 to 15 minutes. But things which are happening for us, the taxpayers, it is beyond this, 10 or 15 minutes, whatever is happening. So ABC Private Limited had shown turnover of rupees 10 lakhs in GST year 1. During the GST audit by the company, it was realized that the turnover as per books was only 6 lakhs. So this is when you're doing your 9 and 9C, you realize that for 17-18, you have shown 10 lakhs in your GST year 1, but your actual turnover is only 6 lakhs as per your balance sheet. The difference of 4 lakhs was due to 2 invoices which were uploaded twice. So why were they uploaded twice? Once they were wrongly uploaded in month of August 2017, and the second time their accountant uploaded it correctly in the month of October 2017. Though the bill details were same, the bill numbers were different. The same was identified as a discrepancy in ASMT-10. So you get a ASMT-10. What is it saying? It is saying, ki bhaiya, you have shown 10 lakhs in your GST year 1, but you have paid tax only on 6 lakhs. Explain why. Then the case study further goes on to say, as only 7 days time was given to furnish the reply, ABC Private Limited was unable to do so due to other urgent requirements. So this is also a common thing that we are getting. We are getting a ASMT-10 notice, but we are getting only 7 days time to furnish the reply. So how can we do it? Whether within such a short time, that is the question that many of us have. So first question, which the taxpayer had asked to us is, whether excess turnover shown in GST 1 needed some action by the supplier. So if ABC Private Limited had shown some excess turnover in GST 1, what action they should have taken or could have taken in 17-18? If no action was taken, is there any tax liability for ABC Private Limited? Third question, what are the submissions that could be made by the taxpayer? And fourth, how can time be sought by the taxpayer for filing the reply? So I will quickly go to question number 1. Whether excess turnover shown in GSTR 1 needed some action by the suppliers. So as we all know, it is a typical case of where the government, your customer is a government agency. And what happens typically is that they say that, you have raised the bill, but we have not taken it in the accounts. Why? Because this writing is not proper, or this measurement you have not written properly. The invoice value, tax value, everything is the same, but somewhere they find some mistake because of which they feel that they cannot accept the bill. So that's why a correction is made in only the narration or some part, and a fresh bill is given to the customer. And by mistake, they have also uploaded that second bill also on the GSTR 1 portal, on the portal on GSTR 1. So here the action that they could have taken was that they could have actually issued a credit note for the first 2 wrong invoices they filed. So ideally, for the first 2 invoices they filed, they should have issued a credit note, and then they could have uploaded the second fresh set of invoices. There would also been an alternative solution by way of filing amendment of 2 invoices in GSTR 1 in the later months. So what could have been done? We could have done that, since it's for 17-18. So we had time till 13th April 2019 to amend, the invoice. So what we could have done is that we could have said that these 2 invoices are wrong. So let us make it 0. Okay, let us make it 0 and amend the invoice so that only the correct invoice which is there, that would remain in GSTR 1, and this amendment could be given effect in the GSTR 9. So why are we discussing that what action should have been taken? We are discussing this because even today in 22-23, 23-24, we are making these mistakes. So if we are making this mistake, that same invoice we have uploaded twice, then what could be the solution? Solution could be issuance of the credit note for the earlier invoice, and, or I should say, or like also amending. You can also amend the invoice. But when I'm saying credit note can be issued for the earlier invoice, please bear in mind that credit note can be issued only under section 34 under specified conditions, wherein the taxable value has been reduced, the tax rate has been reduced, okay, or the goods seem to be defective or the services seem to be defective. So these are the conditions. So here, in this case, when you have issued the earlier invoice in August 2017, neither of these conditions are being fulfilled for issuance of the credit note. But you can always take a ground saying that since the earlier invoices have been uploaded on the invoice, and my customer, they need these invoices with the correct invoice number that I'm giving now, okay, and the correct kind of details and things like that I'm generating now, because even when you're issuing today in e-invoice, this can be a peculiar situation that you have already issued a e-invoice in the month of August 22, okay, and again the client comes back to you in January and says that this invoice could not be booked by us in the books of accounts because of this problems. So you have to change the invoice and issue me a fresh invoice, and also, change this particular data. So there also, though I would add that it is very risky that you are issuing a credit note without fulfilling the condition section 34, but still one of the routes could be that, one of the routes could be of issuance of the credit note and issuing a fresh invoice with the correct details. So next question is, if no action was taken, is there any tax liability for the supplier? So here, now when I went to the proper officer, I had asked him, sir, it's okay. I have shown the same invoice twice, and I have only paid tax through 3B only for the invoices which are correct, that is filed in December 17. I have not paid, for the tax for the invoices that I have uploaded in August. So how does that matter? Okay. So in this, the proper officer was sharing that it matters because you have passed on the credit by uploading 2 more extra invoices in your GSTR 1. You have, that is auto-populated in the 2B of the recipient. And so he is in a position to avail the credit. Okay. But here we need to also remember that for availing credit, only auto population is not required. We also need to fulfill the conditions in section 16, which is that you have received the goods, you have received the invoice, you have made the payment, and your supplier has uploaded the invoice in his GSTR 1. So only if he fulfills one condition, the other three conditions are not fulfilled. I have not received the supply. I have not made the payments to him. This, ITC cannot be availed by me. It is only a presumption and not based on facts. Therefore, no liability will accrue in lieu of the invoices filed wrongly, as no supply was there made by the supplier, even though he had not issued the credit note for the invoices he had uploaded earlier. What submission could be made by the taxpayer? So we have found many number of cases wherein this situation has been found, that these invoices have been uploaded twice, or in many cases maybe not identical invoice. Maybe what you have done is you have uploaded an invoice for say 20 lakhs first, and then the client, your government client or some other client has told you that no, we will not accept this invoice for 20 lakhs. You make this 16 lakhs. So what you have done, you have gone ahead and issued a fresh invoice of 16 lakhs and uploaded that also in your GSTR 1 without negating the earlier 60 or 20 lakhs. So what can be the submissions that could be made? That is what we are discussing. So first is that there was no supply made by the supplier. Why? Because if I have to make a supply, there has to be a supply of some goods or services. But here I have supplied the goods or the services only once. So for the same supply, okay, I cannot raise or I cannot show it has double supply, and I cannot raise the invoice twice. Second, the 9 has incorporated the above correction as the time of filing credit or amendment has been passed away. So here in most of the cases what we have seen, all these corrections, they have been duly made in GSTR 9. So the second ground that we can take is that this is duly shown. This is duly shown in the GSTR 9, and the correction has been duly made in GSTR 9. So if there is any error or omission on the part of the taxpayer, it is the GSTR 9 which is the last opportunity given to them to show the correct picture as per the books of accounts. And that's why, friends, if you see the GSTR 9, you can see at the top that whatever is given, please provide data as per the books of accounts. So, sir, if I have shown in my GSTR 9 my correct turnover, you cannot assume or presume that my turnover was more than that, and that's why you cannot force me to pay the tax on the liability which I have shown wrongly. Third, no ITC can be availed by the recipient without receipt of goods or services, merely because the ITC is populated, auto-populated. Okay, so just because I have auto-populated the ITC in my 2A, that does not mean that the supplier can easily avail the ITC, because he also needs to fulfill the other conditions of section 16, as we discussed a few points before. So these are some of the submissions that can be made by the taxpayer, when they are facing similar situations. Now, the fourth question that often comes is, how can time be sought? How can time be sought by the taxpayer for filing the reply? So you will see, friends, that as per ASMT-10, there is no provision of seeking adjournment. Okay, there is no provision of seeking adjournment. Why? But is there any provision for adjournment? That is the first thing that we need to analyze. So that we will analyze in some time, whether section 61 allows the proper officer to give more time to furnish the reply. Okay, so where any return furnished by the registered person is selected for scrutiny, the proper officer shall scrutinize the same in accordance with the provisions of section 61 with reference to the information available with him, and in case of any discrepancy, he shall issue a notice to the said person in form GST ASMT 10, informing him of such discrepancies, seeking such explanations thereto, within such time not exceeding 30 days from the date of service of notice, or such further period as may be permitted by him. So if we read the line here, or such further period as may be permitted by him. So there is always a scope of extension or time to be granted beyond 30 days. Okay? Beyond 30 days from the date of service of notice. But now, technical issue is how do you actually do it? How do you actually do it? What we need to do is we need to draft a reply saying that this is the ASMT-10 that we have received by, reference number such and such, date and such and such. You have requested us to furnish the reply within this date, within 30th of June. But I am unable to do all the reconciliations within 30th of June. So kindly give me 10 days, 15 days time till say 10th of July to furnish the reply. So prepare such a letter, sign it and upload it in the portion mentioned for reply for the ASMT-10. Because friends, please remember the proper officer can only give an extension of the time only on the basis of your request or not on his own. Okay, that's what is mentioned, or such further period as may be permitted by him. And also where possible, quantifying the amount of interest, tax and other things. So it is only to be permitted. So when is permission sought? When I have to leave the room, I ask your permission. Sir or ma'am, may I leave the room? Then only you can give me permission. So permission arises only when you are asking for the permission. So friends, this is one practical aspect that we need to take care of, because we are fighting some of the show cause notices wherein they could easily reply to the ASMT-10, but they have not done it because they didn't know this procedure as to how they could take the time, sort and seek an extension from the proper officer. So once you upload this as a reply, then you can always mail to the proper officer also, if you have the mail ID, saying that this is the ASMT-10 received and we have furnished extension of time request on the portal. So request you to kindly give the same. And in most of the cases, the proper officers have been kind enough to give that time, because they can give a minimum time limit of 30 days for furnishing the reply. So with this, we come to case study 2. Case study 2 says Hari Rice Mill is selling rice and rice bran oil. As per its 2A, it has liability under RCM, which is shown as discrepancy, as they have short paid RCM for the relevant financial year. It is also pointed out that ITC for exempt supply has not been reversed, and therefore the same has to be reversed. So the first question that the taxpayer is asking you is whether any RCM auto-populated in GSTR 2A can be considered to be a liability. Second, whether ITC has to be reversed on all ITC availed during the year when you are making taxable supply and exempted supply. So here in this particular case study, which is a real life case, what is it? The rice mill is selling both, rice, which is exempted, and rice bran oil, which is a taxable product. And rice is 90% of the total turnover. Rice bran oil is 10% of the total turnover. And as per the proper officer, the turnover, the ITC, has to be reversed in proportion to the exempt turnover to total turnover. So since my 90% of my turnover is exempt turnover, the proper officer is of the view that kindly reverse 90% of the ITC availed by you. To what extent this is correct, we will just examine in a few minutes from now. So first question that many of us are receiving is whether any RCM, which is auto-populated in 2A, can be considered to be liability. Friends, we need to understand RCM auto-populated in 2A cannot be considered to be a liability. Okay, always, I'm saying always, just because it is coming in my 2A, in that RCM Excel sheet, which shows that RCM liability under, 2A, it cannot be considered as my liability. Okay, why? Because there are only few situations wherein this particular liability will arise, under RCM. And what are they? So the taxpayer will be liable to pay tax in case of supplies made under reverse charge maker only when supply is actually received by him. So what is happening? The supply which is shown against my GSTN, I have not received the same only. Okay, so Mr. X has uploaded his, he's an advocate. I happen to take services from him, but somehow he has uploaded some of the invoices in my name, though they do not belong to me. So if I have not actually availed the service, it is not there in my books, I have not made the payment to the learned advocate, then why should I pay RCM just because it is coming in my 2A? So friends, the first thing that you need to verify in your 2A, whatever RCM is coming, whether that RCM actually belongs to you or not, that supply actually belongs to you or not. Okay, some sponsorship. Somebody has just randomly shown the sponsorship in my name. And now, does that make me liable to pay the tax under RCM? Okay, so that is the first thing that I need to check. Second, the supply is not exempted through exempted notification. That also I need to check. So when I'm a rice mill and I'm availing the GTA services for bringing in paddy, which is an agricultural produce, that is exempted. So even if my GTA, who does not know about all this, tax provisions, that, transportation of goods like, are like rice paddy, which is agricultural produce, by my invoice, then a strict tax payable under RCM, taxable. So I also need to verify that the amount showing in my liability under RCM, whether that is at all taxable or not. Because if I'm a rice mill and I'm carrying rice, I'm not liable to pay tax on that. So even if it is coming in my 2A, there will be no RCM liability. Third, supply taxable under forward charge is wrongly payable and is wrongly shown as payable under RCM. Supply taxable under forward charge is wrongly shown as payable under RCM. Okay, so what is this? It is like a chartered accountant service. Okay, I am doing an audit and I am I should be raising a GST invoice, tax invoice to you. But maybe, I have just started new practice. So I'm not aware. And what I have done, I have mentioned tax payable under reverse charge. And I have just, shown it in my GSTR 1 that it is tax payable under GSTR 1. Why? Because maybe Mr. X, who is raising these invoices, who is a fresh practitioner, he's not aware about all these things. Or maybe we'll take a real life example of an interior decorator. Okay, interior designer. She had actually continuously been raising invoices even after taking a GST number. She was writing tax payable under reverse charge. Why? Because somebody had told her that during good old service tax days, when you are working on works contract, for providers, 50% was payable under forward charge, 50% under reverse charge by the corporates. So somehow she had this idea and she was sticking on that, and all her customers, they are getting this liability auto-populated in their 2A, wherein it was shown that tax had to be paid by them under RCA. So friends, if on a supply, tax is payable under the forward charge, we need to remember that tax cannot be payable under RCM, even if there is a tick on that in GSTR 1 wrongly by the supplier. Now, for the next question, whether, all the ITC that I have received, I have availed, I am supplying taxable supply as well as exempt supply. So am I liable to reverse all my ITC, the entire bucket, on a proportionate basis in proportion to my exempt supply to my total turnover? Okay, so section 17, apportionment of credit in block credit, section 17(1). What does it say? Where the goods or services or both are used by the registered person, partly for the purpose of any business and partly for other purposes, the amount of credit shall be restricted to so much of the input tax as is attributable to the purpose of the business. Okay, so I'll give you a real life example. So what is happening? Mr. X, he's a consultant. He has taken a conference room on rent. Okay, he has taken a conference room on rent, say paying an annual rent of say 1 lakh or whatever, maybe say for the sake of clarity, it is 1 lakh. Now what happens in that particular conference room, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., he holds all his official meetings. From 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., he is holding all official meetings. From 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the evening, he is having social gatherings there or social meetings there. He is a part of a social club. I don't mention the name of the club. He is a part of a social club. And so all their committee meetings and in other meetings, they are held in that particular conference room. So now, friends, please appreciate that he is paying 1 lakh as the rent for the conference room. he is getting an ITC of 18,000. He is availing the entire ITC of 18,000. But if you see the usage of the room, it is not entirely for his business purpose. Okay, say for 8 hours, if it is being used for his business purpose, for 4 hours, it is being used for his personal use. So that is where, or in this situation, that section 17(1) comes into the play, and it tells me that you can take ITC, you can avail ITC only for the portion of the credit that you have availed for your business purpose. Okay, so ideally 8 divided by 12, okay, 8 hours divided by 12 hours into, the money that the ITC that I'm availing, that has to be actually availed, and remaining, for the remaining amount, the ITC has to be reversed by me. So this is the situation when I'm using the goods or services both for business purpose as well as for other purpose. Now coming to section 17(2), where the goods or services of both are used by the registered person partly for effecting taxable supplies, including zero-rated supplies under the IGST Act, and partly for effecting exempt supplies, the amount of credit shall be restricted to so much of the input tax as is attributable to the said taxable supplies, including zero-rated supplies. So friends, please try to appreciate the situation. I am making a supply and my total turnover is 100 crores. Out of this 100 crores, 60 crores is for my taxable supplies, 10 crores is my zero-rated supplies, export of goods or services that I am making, and balance 30 crores, okay? Balance 30 crores is towards my exempt supplies. So here 17(2) says that in this particular situation, on 30 crores, the turnover that I have, I cannot avail the ITC. Okay, I cannot avail the ITC. I can avail ITC only for the taxable supplies that I'm making and 70% of the ITC that I'm using for common credit, for common purpose. So if I'm making taxable supplies and say I'm purchasing goods, or I'm availing some services directly for my taxable supplies, then in that case I can avail the entire ITC. Okay, there is no restriction on that. But if there is any goods or services which can be specifically linked to my exempt supplies, on that I am not supposed to avail my ITC. And what is remaining? Remaining is the common credit. What is common credit? Which is not directly attributable either to the taxable supply or to the exempt supply. What could be the best example? Rent. Rent, maintenance. Rent, maintenance, cleaning services, security services, auditors' fees, all these are common credits. Why? Because these goods or services that I am availing, I cannot specifically say that what portion is for taxable supplies and what is for exempt supplies. So 17(2) is very clear that please avail the ITC which is directly linked to your taxable supplies, and also avail the ITC to that extent. Here 70% is my taxable supplies plus export turnover. So 70% of the common credit, that can also be availed by me under 17(2). What is 17(3) saying? Value of exempt supply under subsection 2 shall be such as may be prescribed and shall include supplies on which the recipient is liable to pay tax on reverse charge basis, transaction in securities, sale of land, and subject to paragraph B, sale of building. So friends, here please bear in mind that 17(3) is a very important section that you need to keep in mind, because in many of the ASMT-10 we have found that this issue is being overlooked. What is the issue here? Firstly, exempt supply has been defined in subsection 47, and that is very clear that what is exempt supply on which tax is not liable, and it includes the non-taxable supply that is there. But apart from that, what else needs to be added? We need to add the supplies on which recipient is liable to pay tax on the reverse charge basis. So if I am a GTA, and I am also a clearing agent, okay? And on my clearing and forwarding agency charges, that's fully taxable services, I am paying the tax. But on my GTA, I am not paying the tax. My recipient is paying the tax under the reverse charge basis. So in this case, the law is prescribing that your exempt supply will be the GTA services that you are providing on which tax is payable by the recipient. Please find this distinction. It is not the RCM liability on which I am paying the tax. It is the RCM liability, it is a turnover of RCM on which my recipient is paying the tax. And therefore, if I am availing some services or some goods under RCM, that will never be added to my exempt supply. What will be added to my exempt supply? Whatever is given there in my definition, that is which is exempted by means of a notification under section 11 or a non-taxable supply. Apart from that, what will be added? The turnover on which my recipient is paying tax under RCM. Transaction in securities, that will also be added to a certain extent. Sale of land and sale of building. So if I am selling a land which is also purely exempted, but it's not exempted, it's outside the purview of supply of goods and services. So that is also to be added in exempt supply. And also sale of building, subject to provision paragraph 5B of schedule 2, which is sale of constructed building. So if I am making a supply of a constructed building or a sale of land, even that particular supply has to be added to my exempt supply when I'm making this computation of how much ITC I have to reverse. Friends, you may be thinking that today we are discussing ASMT-10. तो इसमें अरूप जी फिर इतना 17 के बारे में डिस्कस क्यों कर रहे हैं? Sirs and madam, please remember that in the entire gamut of ASMT-10, scrutiny of returns, the main victim is ITC. One portion of the ITC is 2A3B mismatch, जो कि अभी अपने पल्ले पड़ गया है. वो हम लोग we are also doing a reconciliation. We are furnishing the reconciliation. There is circular 183 which is giving a escape route to us. So all those things are there. But another area is this exempt supply, wherein the ITC has not been reversed and a lot of questions are being asked. So if you have to reply to those queries, we have to be very clear on section 17 and also on rule 42 and 43 as to how the exempt supply, for exempt supply, the ITC has to be reversed. So I have also given, the rule 42 and 43 here. I would only like to share that this is quite a detailed rule. So, but just for the sake of clarity, so that it is there in your presentation, so that you don't have to refer something else, I have given the entire rules also here as to how the calculation is done. Mainly, we need to understand that C2, if you take, it is the amount of input as credit attributable towards exempt supplies, and that is how it is denoted, and the calculation is given. Mainly, first we have to find out, first is what is the ITC that is relatable to your taxable supplies. Okay, what is the ITC? The amount it's given here. The amount of input tax out of T attributable to input of input tax intended to be used exclusively for effective exempt supplies, that is T2, and your T1 is attributable to inputs and input services and intended to be used exclusively for the purpose other than business, that is T1. Inputs or input services on which credit is not available under section 17(5). So if there is some blocked credit, that also has to be deducted. So ultimately, what is going into your electronic credit ledger? Whatever is your total ITC that you have taken, which is T, minus ITC, which is not for your business purpose. The example I gave you of the conference room, 8 hours I'm using for business, 4 hours I'm using for my personal self, or maybe similarly for, the laptops also. It can be said that, I've bought 10 laptops, but out of them, maybe one laptop is being used at my home that is not there. So that is coming under T1. Then we have T2. What is T2? The ITC, which is exclusively meant for my exempt supplies. And T3 is my ITC, which is blocked under section 17(5), like works contract. Like any ITC that I've availed for works contract services used by me. Any ITC that I've availed for, motor vehicle, okay, or for maybe health services. So I cannot avail any kind of ITC, which is blocked under 17(5). So that also has to be deducted. So net, what is going to my electronic credit ledger is my total ITC minus the ITC you use for non-business purposes minus the ITC on exempt supplies minus my block credit. And here we need to understand the amount of input tax credit attributable to inputs and input services intended to be used exclusively for affecting supplies other than exempt, but including zero supplies is T4. So T4 is the ITC of which I am availing only for my taxable goods and my goods which I am exporting. Okay, so input tax credit left after attribution of input tax credit under clause 4F shall be common credit, which is C2 and can be calculated as C1 minus C2. So whatever credit I have availed, what is gone to my electronic credit ledger after my ITC for business purpose, after my ITC on exempt supplies, after my ITC on block credit, whatever ITC is remaining, from that, if I deduct the ITC that is attributable for my taxable supplies, the remaining is my common credit. So friends, we need to understand that if I am making an exempt supply and a taxable supply, I am supposed to reverse ITC on these 4 grounds. 1, for non-business use. 2, ITC use if ITC available for exempt supplies. 3, block credit. And 4, the common credit, which is in proportion to my exempt supply. These 4 ITCs I have to actually reverse. Okay, so that is the entire formula that is given here. So I have just shared it here in detail so that you can go through it. And rule 43 is for similarly for the capital goods that you need to avail, that whatever capital goods ITC you have availed minus anything which is for business purpose other than business purpose minus which is only for exempt supplies. Maybe you're having a machine on which from where you're making only rice. So that is a machine which is used for exempt goods. And so the ITC on that has to be deducted. It cannot go to the electronic credit ledger. Apart from that, maybe I am buying a motor car. So that is a capital goods. But since ITC is blocked, that will also not come here. Okay. So rule 42 and 43 I have just given for the sake of brevity so that you understand the entire thing. And it is there as a reference for you. So the second question is whether ITC has to be reversed on all ITC availed during the year. So friends, I'm sure it must be clear from now that it is not straight jacket. कि मैंने 2 करोड़ का क्रेडिट लिया है और मेरा एक्सपोर्ट सप्लाई है 30% एंड टैक्सेबल एंड एक्सपोर्ट को लेके मेरा 70% है और मेरा 30% एग्जिम सप्लाई है, then it is not that on 30% of the 2 crores, my entire ITC I have to reverse. Okay, so I have to check. And what is that? ITC has to be reversed only when ITC is used for non-business purpose, personal use, or for exempt supply. Therefore, for the reversal of ITC, one needs to determine these things. What are they? ITC availed for taxable supplies. B, ITC availed for exempt supplies, common ITC, and ITC availed for personal use. So only once this above 4 things are determined, then only please find out the common credit. And common credit मैंने आपको बताया कि your total credit minus ITC for business purpose, minus ITC for exempt supply, minus block credit, minus ITC exclusively for taxable supplies. If you deduct this, only then that is your common credit. And this common ITC only you have to divide, you have to reverse in proportion to your exempt supply. Apart from this, whatever ITC is there for the exempt supply directly, you have to reverse that. Any ITC for non-business use, that also you have to reverse. Any ITC for your block credit, that has to be reversed. Friends, now you know that I would once again like to really thank GST Corner for taking up this issue, because we are really facing a lot of show cause note, finding a lot of show cause notices coming to us, which we are defending, wherein the mistakes have been made in GSTR 3B. This abhi kya ho raha hai? In the present 3B format, whatever permanent reversal has to be there, you have to make that permanent reversal in 4B too. Okay, so you have to make that permanent reversal. Sorry, 4B1. You have to make that permanent reversal. So whether you are making that or not, you have bought a car and there is an ITC which is auto-populated in your 2B. So is it that you are taking in your all other ITC without that particular ITC? So say your total ITC in a particular month is 3 lakhs, out of which 50,000 is for your car. Are you taking 3 lakhs and deducting 50,000? Or are you doing net of 2,50,000 and availing the ITC? Can you share in chat what are you doing? You are taking the net or you're taking the gross and then reversing? Yeah. Okay. So what are you doing? Like, are you showing a net or a gross? Means I mean to say, if your total credit for a particular month is 3 lakhs and you have availed, if you have a ITC for your purchase of car, say for 50,000, are you doing a 3 lakhs minus 50,000 or you are doing directly of 2,50,000? Okay. So friends, you have to remember that as per the new format that is there, as per the new format of 3B that is there, you have to avail the entire ITC of 3 lakh in all other ITC. And then the 50,000 that is there, that has to be reversed in 4B1. So if you have already reversed that ITC in 4B1, later on, you don't have a question of getting a ASMT-10 for reversal of ITC, which is on block trade. So if you get a ASMT-10 for reversal of any ITC, please do follow this entire mechanism of finding out the specific bill-wise items, as in how much is for exempt supplies, and then how much is for taxable supplies, how much is for block credit, how much is common credit, and then go for the reversals. Otherwise, maybe, in many cases, we have found replies which are very sketchy and which are not direct, and therefore it is creating problems when we are defending the show cause notice. So if there are any questions relating to this, we'll also take it at the end of the session, because we have kept good 45 minutes for question and answers. So please do write down your question and answers if you have any on ITC part, on reverse, or any other part on ITC. Next, CFG Retail Private Limited is into servicing of laptops. They have received the ASMT-10 citing certain discrepancies as observed from the balance sheet of the company as uploaded with GSTR 9C. The following discrepancies were notified. 1. Turnover for April to June was wrongly shown in GSTR 9C. So that is the allegation. Next, RCM was not paid on some of the expenses shown in the balance sheet. This is also another allegation by the proper officer. Interest was payable on amounts paid through DRC 03. Further documents were sought by the proper officer. So the queries from the taxpayer, first query is whether additional documents can be sought for during the scrutiny. Next, whether balance sheet can be reviewed for the purpose of determining liability as per ASMT-10. And third, in case the CFO of the company refuses to submit the documents as sought for, what could be the consequences? Okay, so here I would like to take you through section 61 for the first question, which is whether additional documents can be sought for during the scrutiny. Friends, we need to remember that the very purpose of organizing such seminar or webinars by GST Corner is to help all its members to, I should say, fight the area of litigation in the best way possible. Why I am saying so? Because ASMT-10 is the basis of the entire litigation that is going to go on, maybe till High Court, okay, or Supreme Court. So at the ASMT-10 stage, we need to give the replies to the best of our capability, so that if there is any discrepancy that can be resolved by the proper officer, that can be resolved at that particular stage. Therefore, we need to understand what are our rights and obligations. So section 61(1) says the proper officer may scrutinize the return and related particulars furnished by the registered person. So the balance sheet that is being furnished by us who are filing GSTR 9C, that is the related particular that is furnished by us. And so in my view, particular view, they can refer to the balance sheet. Okay, so by the registered person to verify the correctness of the return and inform him of the discrepancies noticed. So what is the purpose of the scrutiny? They have to verify whether the return has been rightly filed and what is the action by the proper officer to be taken. Inform the assessee of the discrepancies noticed, if any, in such manner as may be prescribed, and seek his explanation thereto. Therefore, it is apparent from the above fact that the scrutiny of returns has to be made only on the basis of information and documents furnished by the taxpayer. So additional documents. So additional documents in the form of ledger. You know, recently I got a ASMT-10 notice from another state, not from the state of West Bengal. We have got a notice wherein they have told, give me the balance sheet for 5 years, give me give me the balance sheet for this particular 2 years, 2 years ka scrutiny chal raha hai. Give me the ledger copies, give me the creditors ledger, give me the sale register, give me the purchase register. So where is the authority coming under section 61 of asking these documents? So friends, if any further document is being sought for under the garb of scrutiny, please kindly write, communicate, saying that sir, section 61 clearly allows the proper officer to scrutinize the return and the related particulars and to inform the discrepancies. It is not an audit wherein you can ask further information that give me this information that I'm going to do this. It is not like that. It is that you have filed the returns, you have all the set of information with you. Kitna maine I have filed in GSTR 1, what I filed in GSTR 3B, what I filed in GSTR 9. Maybe you can recall my balance sheet with my GSTR 9 turnover. You can do all of this. But you cannot seek any further documents under ASMT-10. Please be clear about this. Whether balance sheet can be reviewed for the purpose of determining liability as per ASMT-10. In my particular personal opinion, though there is a difference of opinion because some large number of professionals feel that balance sheet cannot be reviewed at the stage of ASMT-10. In my personal view, balance sheet can be reviewed, but only for the limited purpose of reconciling my turnover as filed in my GSTR 3B, GSTR 1 and my 9 with the financial statement. So मैंने balance sheet में तो 100 crores का turnover दिखाया है और मैंने 1 में 50 crore का turnover दिखाया है, 3B में 50 crore का turnover दिखाया है. That is a problem. That is a problem. That thing can be notified by the proper officer, wherein he can say, he or she can say that, sir, in your GSTR 9C, you are mentioning that your pre-GST turnover is only 20 crores. In your 3B and 1, you have shown only 50 crores. So that adds up to 70 crores. Okay. But in your balance sheet, you have shown turnover 100 crores. In your 9, you have not shown this 100 crores turnover. Why? So that explanation, in my personal view, that explanation is well within the rights of the proper officer to ask that why that is not matching. But anything beyond that, कि sir, आपके balance sheet में director's remuneration है, so why haven't you paid RCM on director's remuneration? Or you are showing in your balance sheet legal expenses, why haven't you paid RCM on legal expenses? All this will not come under the purview of GSTR 9. ASMT-10. This will not come under the purview of ASMT-10. You cannot review my balance sheet for anything which is beyond the returns. Okay. In case the CFO of the company refuses to submit the documents as sought for, what could be the consequences? This is again a very common question from the taxpayers. That, sir, with folded hands, I am telling you, I am not in a position to do all the reconciliation of my 2A, 3B. Also of this turnover, of the exempt supply. Why? Because I had wrongly shown my VAT turnover as my exempt supply in the July GSTR 1. I have not made that correction. So I'm not in a position to show all these reconciliations. So I don't want to give any documents. Or maybe the additional documents that the proper officer has asked for, like, what should I say? Say the ledger copies. Copies of the vouchers. In one of the cases of ASMT-10, we are told to produce copies of the vouchers for legal expenses and director's remuneration. Where is the power and the authority coming for that? That is not there in the Act. Yes, under the audit, you can always do it, but not in ASMT-10. So if your client is asking you that if I don't give all this information or documents, what could be the consequences? That also should be clear to us. Okay. So what does section 63.3 say? In case no satisfactory explanation is furnished within a period of 30 days of being informed by the proper officer. So either you have filed an explanation or you have filed an explanation on the basis of which the proper officer is not satisfied. Okay, within a period of 30 days of being informed by the proper officer or such further period as being permitted by him. So if he has allowed me more 30 days to reply, and I've replied, within 60 days, or where the registered person, after accepting the discrepancies, fails to take the corrective measure and is returned for the month in which the discrepancy is shown. Okay, so there are three things. I have not given a reply. I have given a reply, but it is the proper officer is not satisfied. When I have given the reply within a period of 30 days or within the extended period as allowed by the proper officer, or third situation is I have accepted all the discrepancies. Yes, sir, I accept that there is a difference of excess ITC availed by me. I have not reversed the ITC which I should have reversed for my exempt turnover. I'm accepting this in my reply, but still I am not showing it. I am not making the payment. Okay. So what is it? In which the discrepancy is accepted. The proper officer may initiate appropriate action under 55 audit, 66 special audit, 67 inspection, or proceed to determine the tax and other dues under section 73 and 74. So, sirs and madams, please do remember that every day when you come to your office in the morning and you do your opening prayers, okay, after your opening prayers, the first opening thing that you should do, that like opening batting and opening bowling, you say, is that please put one person, one team member of your team to check for most of your clients whether they have received any additional notices or orders. Okay, this is very important. And why I'm telling you so is that in a recent matter that we are fighting, we have just filed a writ before, we are filing a writ before the Honorable Calcutta High Court. The matter was very simple. In the ASMT-10 stage only the matter could have been explained. But what happened is the taxpayer, he got the ASMT-10 and he did not reply to the ASMT-10. He thought I'll reply within 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. That's it. And then without his knowledge, after around 2 months or so, a show cause notice was issued. He didn't get the show cause notice in his mail. It was only uploaded on the portal. So nobody replied to the show cause notice. The proper officer then gave a date for personal hearing. Nobody attended the personal hearing because they were not aware. Then the proper officer issued an order under DRC 07 and also uploaded the DRC 07. Even then nobody was aware that such an order has been uploaded. Only when after 4 months the bank account was attached, the taxpayer was made aware. Yes, oh my God, my account is attached. Now what will happen? And then they came to us saying that we have not done anything, but our bank account is attached, even without checking their own GST portal. So when we checked, when we checked the GST portal, we saw the entire set of events that, the ASMT-10 had been issued, they didn't reply. And after that, for the entire state, DRC 01A, DRC 1, and the DRC 07, no step was taken. Even appeal was not filed. So friends, it is my humble request that please put in one person of your team to check all the additional notices or demands, and so that if there is anything like this, you can always counteract at the earliest. And maybe if you would have got this opportunity at the show cause stage itself, we could have resolved the matter there. But now we are going before the Honorable Calcutta High Court to seek, the opportunity to file the appeal for the hearing of the appeal, because even the condemnation period has gone and the appeal has been rejected because the appeal was filed after the delay condemnation period. Okay, so now coming back to our question on ASMT-10, if your client is not furnishing the reply or is not giving the suitable explanation, audit may be initiated, or a special audit may be initiated, or inspection may be. So please be careful. Let us not take it very lightly. I'm not saying to be additionally cautious so that, we need to give so much thing. But yes, please make your clients aware that, sir, if you have a reconciliation, instead of using all this technical jugglery, in non-est and bad in law, and this is the ASMT-10 should not be doing this. Let us try to give our replies and close by giving ASMT-12. If not there, then at the show cause notice stage also, we have an opportunity to furnish our reply and get the clarification for that. So So let us do that, and also be very clear that inspection could also be, initiated, by which maybe departmental, there will be an inspection from the department wherein they can seek, additional documents. They may summon, if required, even after inspection, if they are not getting the documents or the information, they can summon and take the proceeding further. So case study 4, RS Builders Private Limited. They into the business of construction for government authorities and all. Also have another business of trading of building materials. So for the year 1920, for construction business, as per GSTR 7, the turnover is 30 crores. However, as per GSTR 3B, the turnover is 27 crores. Okay. And for the trading business, turnover as per 3B is not matching with the turnover as per e-way bill. And some vendors have not uploaded their invoices in GSTR 1, but have paid the taxes through GSTR 3B. So first we will go to construction business. So as you can see, it's a matter of GSTR 7, which is for, government contractors. So as per the TDS returns filed by the government agencies, it is seen that their turnover is 10 crores. But as per the 3B filed by the particular taxpayer, it is seen that their turnover is 7 crores. So now you may be asked that what could be the reason for this difference in 3 crores? Please try to understand that we need to make a proper reconciliation for this. Okay. And why I'm discussing this? Because in ASMT-10 of 1920, these questions are also, these queries or discrepancies are also being notified in ASMT-10. So there could be many reasons. One is invoices amounting to 3 crores could be uploaded in GSTR 3B of the next year. So that's why, maybe in the earlier year, I've already shown this particular 3B and 3 crores, and the TDS has been deducted by the government agencies the next year. So 21-22, I have shown the turnover of 3 crores, but government has actually deducted this in 22-23, and therefore there could be this difference. Next, GST may be deducted on the GST amount of the invoice. So that is again another issue that is happening, that GST has been deducted on the GST amount by the agencies from the GST contractor. And therefore, there is again a difference between the turnover dip that I'm showing in my 3B and my GST returns, GST TDS returns. GST may not be deducted for contracts entered with private parties. So if I am working with the private party, in that case, GST may not be deducted. Okay, GST may not be deducted. So that could also raise a difference. Why I'm having maybe a difference between GSTR 7 and GSTR 3. And the last category could be that TDS has been deducted on the wrong amount. So I have submitted a bill of 1 crore. But the government department, they have deducted the TDS on 1.5 crores. Why? Because in earlier advance, they have adjusted that advance while making this particular invoice. They had given an advance of 50 lakhs and they have deducted TDS during giving that 50 lakhs advance. Now, when I furnished the invoice of 1 crore 50 lakhs, they have deducted TDS against the entire invoice, whereas they should have deducted the TDS only on 1 crores, because the 50 lakhs they have already paid to me in the past and they are not going to pay to me now. And on the 50 lakhs, they have already deducted the TDS. So friends, if you are getting any ASMT-10 notices for difference between GSTR 7 and 3B, please do make a proper reconciliation of yearly figures, as in which year it is gone, on which amount it has been deducted, and also to check whether GST has been deducted on the TDS amount or GST amount. Okay, now reason for mismatch between turnover as per 3B and e-way bill. This is again a very important thing which is coming up in 1920, which is we have to see as to how many invoices have been raised by us on which e-way bill is not applicable. Because there are many situations, apart from the threshold limit situation, there are many situations on which e-way bill has been exempted. So if I'm making any of those supplies, e-way bill will not be required. Apart from this, I may also have to issue e-way bills when I'm sending my materials to my job worker through a delivery challan. So even in that case, even though the e-way bill will be raised, the turnover will not come in my GSTR 3B because it is not a turnover for me. But friends, when you are being requested to make a reconciliation between your e-way bill and your GSTR 3B, please do take it seriously, please do provide the entire reconciliation to the best of the extent possible, because in many situations it may have happened that you have not raised the e-way bill only. And that's why it is seeming that, you know, your 3B is much on a higher amount and your e-way bill is lesser amount. So in that case, please do share that on this particular invoices, the e-way bill has not been issued. Apart from this, another reason for this mismatch between e-way bill and the turnover as per 3B could be that the person to whom you are sending, their office or their warehouse is very close to your office, and that's why it does not need transportation by motor car. Okay, so it's being transported to a non-motorable transport like a rickshaw or in a van. So in that case also, e-way bill is not required, and therefore, even though your turnover may be 200 crores, maybe your e-way bill turnover as per e-way bill could be only maybe 100 lakhs. Okay, so all these things that needs to be checked, because it will happen that in this particular situation, the last situation that I said, that where your supplier, where your recipient is very close, there again, you can also rely on the fact that when you are purchasing the goods, at that transaction, you are always issuing the e-way bill. So you can always show before the proper officer that, sir, maybe while selling, I have not issued the e-way bill because their office is very close to mine and I have done it through hand or through some rickshaw or van. But when I'm purchasing it, from outside, I have, they have issued this e-way bill. So therefore, you can always share that my purchase, if my purchase is genuine, then my sale, which I've also made, that is also genuine, and to that extent, it is correct. Okay, some vendors have not uploaded their invoice in GSTR 1, but have paid the taxes through 3B. Friends, we need to remember that Circular 183 benefit is given only for 1718 and 1819. And no such benefit can be claimed for 1920. So, just to give you a brief background of Circular 183, I'm sure many of us already know, but still, for the benefit of the larger gathering, in 2017-18 and 18-19, if there is any vendor who has not uploaded his GSTR 1, as invoice in GSTR 1, but who has paid the taxes through 3B, in those cases, the recipient can get a declaration from the supplier saying that, the goods have been supplied by them, the invoice has been issued by them, the taxes have been paid by them in the 3B. They have to give this declaration. And if the amount of ITC that is not shown in the 2A for that particular supplier in a particular year is more than 5 lakhs, then the supplier has to get this particular certificate from his chartered accountant or cost accountant or CMA. Okay, so Circular 183 is a beneficial circular which says for 1718, 1819, अगर आपने गलती से आपके सप्लायर ने आपको इनवॉइस किया है बट उसको B2C में दिखा दिया है, तो उन केसेस में भी आपको बेनिफिट मिलेगा. So even if my supplier has shown my invoice under B2C in place of B2B, or he has shown the particular invoice in the other GSTN number, okay, or he has missed to upload the invoice in his GSTR 1. In all this situation, Circular 183 says if the amount of ITC for the entire year is less than 5 lakhs, okay, considering CGST, SGST, IGST, all, if it is less than 5 lakhs, then the supplier can give the certificate saying that he has supplied the goods, he has issued the invoices, he has made this mistake of not showing in one, or of showing in a wrong GSTN, or of showing in B2C in place of B2B. He can say what the mistake he has made and also declare that he has made the payment of the taxes to GSTR 3. If the amount is above 5 lakhs, he has to get this from a professional. And once the certificate is submitted to you, submitted by you to your proper officer, the proper officers are not taking the proceedings any further in case of mismatch of ITC in 2A as automated against ITC availed by you in 3. So these are some of the situations that we are gathering in ASMT-10. So I am almost done within my time of 6:15. So now we have good 40 minutes left for Q&A, 30 to 45 minutes, whatever time is required. So I would also, before the Q&A, I would also like to share the governing sections are mentioned here. Okay, this is just for the sake of clarity that what is there in section 65, 66. Everything is there. And yeah, this is one thing I wanted to share, that what is the flow? ASMT-10, the officer is issuing. ASMT-11, I have to furnish the reply. ASMT-12, if the valid explanation is given by me, then in ASMT-12, the proper officer will actually, give me a declare saying that all the issues have been resolved. Okay. So these are some of the ITs, these are some of the mismatches that are shown. That outward tax is less than outward tax, which is shown in your 3B. Then ITC availed is less, or ITC availed as shown in import of goods is less. So all these items are there. So we'll be discussing them in the question answers. If any further question answers is there. So thank you very much. And so over to Ankit ji. So now we will discuss the question and answers.
India Direct 786. Hello.
Hello, yes.
Sir, is my audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for such a grand webinar, sir. We have a huge participants of more than 230, sir. And despite of the deadline of 30th June, sir.
Yes,
Great,
so
sir.
thanks
Thank
to
you very
everybody.
much, sir.
Thanks to everybody for joining in. Yes.
Thank you, participants, for joining us today.
And I hope it
Shall I,
was
sir,
beneficial
start a
for
query
you.
session?
Yeah, and
Yes,
I hope
sir,
it was beneficial for the participants. That's it.
Yes, sir. Sir, can we start for a query session, sir?
Yeah, let's start.
Please, Ankit, please put up the query in the chat box so that the sir can reply. Hello. Sir, please check.
Are you able to see the query in chat box?
Yeah, now I'm able. Yes. Yes, they have come.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Taxpayer has duly submitted the reply within the time prescribed, but the department is taking no action on the same. What should be the next step for the tax? Yes. So this is the first query, that I have already furnished my reply in ASMT-10 within the timeline that is given to me. Okay, but the proper officer is neither issuing ASMT-12 nor is issuing any show cause notice or DRC-01A. So what I can do? So in this case, we have nothing much to do apart from writing maybe a mail. What we are doing in many of the cases that we are writing a mail saying that we have already furnished our reply on such date in ASMT-11. So we request you to kindly issue us ASMT-12 with the closure of the particular matter. But frankly speaking, in many matters, the ASMT-12 are not coming even 3 to 4 months. So we have to wait for that. And maybe apart from writing the mails, there is no other provision in law which actually forces the proper officer to issue the ASMT-12 or the DRC-01A. Means I mean to say whatever action has to be taken. There is no time bound process in law as of now. Okay, then we'll just take one. There is a question that can ITC be claimed for a car? No, ITC cannot be claimed for a car if it's a passenger car and if you're using it. But yes, if the ITC is being, if the car is being used for transportation of the goods and it's a commercial vehicle, in that case only it's a vehicle which is permitted to be used for transportation of goods, and it's actually being transporting goods. Only in that situation you can avail the ITC on the car. Okay. Taxpayer. Okay, that is done. Next is okay. So
you can take whether department.
Yeah.
Whether department can take any action on discrepancy in turnover pre-GST rate from 1/4/17 to 36/17 first quarter, sir, through ASMT-10, sir.
No, frankly speaking, in ASMT-10, nothing can be done like that because ASMT-10 is only for the GST period. But what is practically happening is that since in many cases it is a state tax officer, who is been allotted the particular file of the particular SSC. So what they are doing is that they are checking the VAT returns at their end, and they are seeing that in my 9C, I have declared a turnover under the turnover for 1417 to 36 2017, which is much higher than what I have shown in my VAT returns. So in this case, they cannot issue a ASMT-10 saying that in your VAT returns you have shown this, in your 9C you have shown this particular turnover. They cannot say that. Why cannot they say that? Because the VAT returns is not a document which is furnished to them under the GST Act. Okay, they can initiate a separate proceeding under the VAT Act. That is a different question. But for the earlier period of VAT, no proceedings can start under the GST law.
However, sir, they can post the pre-GST liability to the portal, I think.
No, they can post, if they start a proceeding under the VAT laws or the service tax laws.
Yeah.
That will
But
be
the liability
separate.
can.
Yeah.
But the
And if
liability can be posted on the portal,
recovered.
sir.
No, yeah. If liability cannot be recovered under the earlier law,
Then
then they can recover
then
the
can.
law liability under the present.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Ankit, please pose the next query.
First ASMT-10 received from state and then again from CGST. What to do? Okay. So here, please be sure that if you have already received the ASMT-10 on a similar matter from the state tax, and you have replied to that particular ASMT-10, no further action has been taken by the department. So even if no further action is taken, and on the same matter, if you get another ASMT-10 from CGST Act, from Central Act, please do ignore that. You can always write a letter to them that already a ASMT-10 on the same issue has been initiated by the state tax department, and we have already filed the reply to that, and the details for the reply is this. You furnish that reply to the Central Tax Department. Normally, they are dropping the ASMT-10.
Participants, please post your query to the host so that they can forward to the sir. Please.
Yeah.
Sir. Ankit, is there any query?
And another common query that is coming to many minds is that, say my ASMT-10 has been issued for a particular year, and a show cause notice is I have not accepted the discrepancy, and I furnished a reply. The proper officer is issuing a show cause notice. He has already started the proceedings, and after this, can an audit for the same year start? Okay, can an audit for the same year start? Say 17-18, my ASMT-10 has been issued. I have not accepted the point. The show cause notice has been issued, and in between the audit is started. Please do bear in mind that there is a judgment of RP Buildcon of Calcutta High Court, wherein they have said that for a particular year, if a proceedings has already started under the scrutiny of notice or under the audit or under inspection, similar proceedings cannot start, by the same department or for the same year. So if after the show cause notice for ASMT-10 is received, you again receive a notice saying that we carry out the audit for this particular period, for 17-18. In that case, you can always tell the proper officer that, sir, I was issued a ASMT-10 for the particular period, and a show cause notice for the particular period has been issued. So we request you that until and unless the show cause notice has been concluded, not to start the audit, so that we would first like to conclude the ASMT-10 matter by giving reply to the show cause notice that is issued. Okay.
Sir, query related to read to circular 123/2019, sir.
Yeah. So here, what is the remedy? What is the remedy available to the SSC when the supplier has not filed 3B? Yeah, so here we cannot do anything actually, because the mechanism that is there of verifying whether the supplier has filed the 3B or not, that has been developed only in the month of August 2021. So prior to August 2021, this facility was not there. So we can only take that ground that, the facility for verifying whether 3B has been filed by the supplier was not there. and therefore I could not, take this particular benefit of knowing whether, the 3B has been filed by the SEC or not. So that is the only remedy that is available, saying that that is not available, and so you can furnish the reply accordingly. And in some cases, if the amount is suitable or if the amount is high, where the stakes are high, then you can file a writ saying that I've been told to do something which is impossible. Because if I'm not given the services or the facility to know whether my supplier has already filed the show cause, the GSTR 3B and paid the taxes, how can I assure, myself that, the 3B has been filed? Because there is no mechanism, there is no facility. So I'm being told to do something impossible, and that's why I could not do it. So they can take that ground, but only if amount is high and the stakes are very high, then only we would suggest them to go to the High Court. That's it. Okay. The proper officer not satisfaction with the reply of audit report under section 65(6), what next? So yeah, so if he's not satisfied with the kind of reply you've given for the draft audit report, then they will initiate show cause notice. You have to give reply to the show cause notice. If the show cause notice is not, replied to, and they're not satisfied with the reply of the show cause notice, they'll issue the order, and then maybe against the order you'll have to file an appeal. That's the procedure that you'll have to go. But you have to also see what we are always see as a person who handles litigations mainly. We always advise the client that please see the cost of litigation before litigating. अगर आपका ऐसा है कि आपका 3B2A का मिसमैच 15,000 है, उसको लिटिगेट करेंगे तो उसमें आपको 50-60,000 रुपया निकल जाएगा. तो इट इज ऑलवेज बेटर कि उसको आप टैक्स इंटरेस्ट वगैरह पे करके आप निकल जाओ, क्योंकि जितना कि आप वो आगे जाके अपील करेंगे कुछ भी, मतलब ट्राइब्यूनल तो अभी हुआ नहीं है, तो यू हैव टू गो टू हाई कोर्ट. सो इन ऑल दिस वी ऑलवेज आस्क द क्लाइंट दैट प्लीज calculate the entire cost of litigation and then think whether you should go and litigate or not. So similarly, if you have got an audit report and if we are actually going to reply, we have to see whether we have proper merit in the matter. If there is a merit in the matter, then always you can reply to the show cause notice also, which will be issued after this. And then, there will be an order. Maybe if they don't accept, then you have to go for filing an appeal. But if you have merit, you are sure that whether it's an appeal or tribunal, if it is constituted, early, or maybe the high courts, you'll be getting the relief for that. Then there is a point in fighting the litigation. Okay, so there is a draft reply which is being, I'll tell you one thing first, which is like her patient ka wo hota hai na, the challenges alag hai. High pressure to sabhi ko hai, काफी सारे लोगों को है, but high pressure किस कारण से उसको भी देखना पड़ता है. So similarly in litigation, fact of the case is very important. So I am not in favor of giving one standard draft reply, but yeah, I'll give you a template. But आप क्या है, मेरा एक ही विनती रहेगा कि आप you see your facts of the case and then only file the reply accordingly. Because in a recent matter, I'll tell you a very funny event. From an office of a professional, a team member had copied the reply of a particular thing from a particular website. किसी एक वेबसाइट में किसी चीज का रिप्लाई दिया गया था, 2A 3B मिसमैच रिप्लाई था. उन्होंने क्या किया, they have just copied and pasted it in the reply and furnished before the authorities. But in that reply, it was written that the goods were not received by us. Whoever had filed the reply, they have by mistake written goods not received. So now the proper officer in the order has mentioned, you are saying that the goods have not received by you. So if you have not received the goods, how can you avail the credit? So I'm disallowing the credit. So now it becomes challenging for us. Aage jaake ki, how do we fight the matter? So that's why I will provide you a draft idea of the draft reply to have an idea as to how we are furnishing the reply. But please do check your own facts and change the replies accordingly. Okay, validity of notices issued for difference in 2B versus 3B. See, first thing is 17, 18, 18, 19 का भी challenge करने का तो बात ही नहीं है, because there is a circular 183. It will not appear. So circular 183 is already given. So the benefit is already given. So there is no point in challenging. Because if you are challenging now, that means there are two things. One, your supplier is not traceable. So you are not able to get that certificate either from the supplier or from his professional. So that is one of the situations. If that is the situation, then it is a very huge task for you, because even if you go to court tomorrow, court will say, maybe, it is said in Sanchita Kundu that you have to verify the genuineness of the buyer, of the seller when you are buying, and all these things are there, the judgments are there. But many high courts will be pleased to ask you that, can you bring the supplier, who has not done this, so we'll maybe ask from him, or things like that, or can you get a proof that the supplier exists? So in those cases, it becomes a challenge. So usko challenge karna hi huge task hai. But second thing is that they have also, second situation that you may be asked challenging is when they are telling that we have not made the payment of taxes in 3B. So if they have not made the payment of taxes in 3B, government will say that if you have not made the payment of taxes in 3B, we have not got the money. So why should we allow the ITC to you? So in both the situations, you can go with the general grounds that we have been taking from such long time. That is, first is that Rule 36(4) did not have any backing of law, and that is proved by the fact that Rule 36(4) ke liye, they had to bring in 16 to AA. 16 to AA had to be introduced in the law. So that itself proves that only it is effective from 1st January 2022. Secondly, the fact that section 42 and 43 has been deleted. It has been omitted by the Act, 2023. So that itself proves that, they could not be made effective by the legislature. So the law creating body, the law governing body, they had envisaged the situation कि GSTR 1 होगा, उसके बाद GSTR 2 होगा, GSTR 3 होगा. तो वो अगर वो infrastructure को खड़ा नहीं कर पाए, then what is the crime that the taxpayer has committed, by making the payment of the money to the supplier? So this is the second ground that we are taking, that section 42-43 has been omitted, and that omission of 42-43 is a huge proof that the infrastructure could not be put into place. And also the third ground, in case of 2B and 3B, that we are taking is that the money that had to flow from me in the form of tax, that has already gone to the buyer. Now, why is recovery action not being initiated from the supplier end? The supplier's proper officer should be given the data that this particular supplier has collected the taxes and they are not making the payment of the taxes, so start recovery proceedings. Because if we are not in a position to know whether recovery proceedings have started against them, अगर recovery proceedings start हो गया है, तो पैसा government को दोनों तरफ से मिलेगा, उनसे भी मिलेगा, हमसे भी मिलेगा. So these are the three kind of grounds that we are taking up in the different writs, that we have been challenging. Okay, for 1920s, Circular 183 will not stand if unless and until CBIC comes with the clarification saying that 183 will also be equally applicable for 1920. And I'm not sure whether that will be made the situation, because by 1920, the Rule 36(4) had come into place, though it came only in the later part from 9th October 19. So that is a huge thing to see. But we have already given representations, and we are expecting that if something comes in positive, I think that will be helpful for all the taxpayers. Next is, in many notices, there was no difference in ASMT-10, but they are asking for additional information like trading balance sheet. No. As I have already mentioned in my presentation, that if your balance sheet is not already uploaded, okay, because you have not filed the 9C, you are not required to file the 9C, then in that case, you are not bound to give any balance sheet, trading profit and loss to the proper officer on the basis of ASMT-10. Why? Because the provisions of ASMT-10 and audit are totally different. Okay, ASMT-10 is only for finding out the discrepancy in the returns, and the details furnished by me in the returns. It is not an investigation module wherein I can ask for documents and information and then give the, on the basis of investigation, then I can give a discrepancy notice. So if you have already not furnished the balance sheet, you don't need to furnish the balance sheet. You can give a simple reply saying that section 61(1) clearly mentions that it has to be it is a checking, verification of the returns with the details furnished by me. So if you have not furnished the details, you cannot ask for any additional document. 1819 ASMT-10 issued. We responded after the SCN was issued, and audit team as well. GST audit by department concluded 1819 to March 22. Okay. So since in this case, already 18, 19 to 19, so to 22, the GST audit is already concluded. You know, basically if it is in Calcutta, if it is within West Bengal jurisdiction, then you can take the benefit of RP Buildcon and already say that, you know, as per RP Buildcon, if already the audit has been concluded by a same department, then why should ASMT-10 be issued? Having said that, I'll tell you one thing, that we have tried to find this in the law. In law, there is no restriction on this. Nowhere in the law it is said that if audit is concluded, ASMT-10 cannot be done. Rather, 61 cannot be initiated. But yes, our ground is that since audit comprises a larger field and you already covered all the areas, and why should ASMT-10 be again issued for that particular period? If GST audit done by the department, yeah, so that is the answer that I had. If GST audit is already complete, please tell your officer, give him the draft report that you have got and tell him that already the GST audit is complete and so to drop the ASMT-10. Can ASMT-10 be issued for discrepancies which are not given in the scrutiny circular? Yeah, see the circular which is given, the SOP that is given, that is a guideline kind of a thing, that is a restrictive thing. So, you know, it is not exhaustive. So the proper officer can always include further things in the ASMT-10 and he can always ask for discrepancies which are there, you know, as long as there is a discrepancy. Okay. So even if something is not mentioned in the SOP that is issued for scrutiny of notices, the officer has well within the powers to go and ask for that. If invoice reflected in 2A, but ASMT-10 issue tax has not been paid by the taxpayer through 3B is filed. Yeah, that's what I said, that, you know, if the department is alleging that this particular person, say Mr. X, has not filed the return 3B, so you pay the taxes now. I am in a position to know whether any recovery action has been initiated against him or not. So I can also ask my taxpayer that whether they have paid or not. And if he is not traceable, in that particular situation, we can always tell our proper officer that, sir, I've already made the payment of this to the taxpayer. And if he has not paid, why can't recovery action be initiated against him? Having said that, though, practically in many situations, it's a problem. They'll be issuing show cause notice. So we need to understand that if the taxes are not paid in 3B and the amount is not quite huge, maybe it would be wiser to end the litigation by making the payment wherever it is possible. But yes, if you have a strong merit and a strong ground and the amounts are also quite high, then in that case, we are asking the clients to litigate the particular situation and also cross-examine and ask the vendor that why he has already not paid or whether he has paid the taxes to the government or not. Okay, so another important, interesting question which I missed in my discussion. Thank you, Mr. Avinash, which is that can we submit ASMT-11 physically if online not allowing as due date is expired? Yes. So as I told you, one common question is, can we seek for extension? And how are you going to seek for extension? We are going to write a reply saying that we have received this ASMT-10. Reply date was this, but I need another 15 days to furnish the reply. So write that letter and upload it in the portion of reply, and the officer will give you an extension. Now, if that extension date is gone and you have missed to do that, what you can do is you can always file your reply through a mail. You can always file a reply through the mail if you have the mail ID of the proper tax of the proper officer. In case you don't have the mail ID, then only you can have to file it physically. But physically, they are not accepting in most of the jurisdiction because now everything is digital. At least if you send by mail, they have a proof that you have sent it. So they are keeping that. So ideally, what I would suggest that in case you have missed the deadline, then please do get the mail ID of the proper officer and send it through mail so that he can take it on acknowledgement. Because that is how it's happening. If DRC-01A is issued, whether penalty 10% will be applicable. No, it is not about the penalty that will be applicable, because if within DRC-01A, if you are making the payment, then no penalty will be applicable. penalty will be applicable only if, under section 73 is issuing a notice under section 73, and within 30 days, if you are not making the payment, then only penalty of 10% will be applicable. In ASMT-10, 1718, PO says difference between 2A, 3B is 70,000, but invoice in 3B, but not in 2A is 1,20,000. Yeah. No, ideally, what in this case, Mr. Narendra, what we are doing is we are actually giving a reconciliation of this entire thing, that ITC as per 3B is this, ITC in 2A not in PR is this, ITC in PR not in 2A is this, ITC as per 2A is this. So then we say that this is the kind of ITC that is there in my PR, but which I have not availed, which is in my 2A, but which is not in my PR, and that's why I have not availed that credit. So the ITC which I have availed in my PR and which is not in 2A is this amount. For that amount, I'm giving you the certificate. So in that case, if you can give this reconciliation, and along with that, if you can give the certificate, then in that case, they are actually dropping the matter. But you have to give a reconciliation also as to how you are arriving at the net amount. Okay, so is interest under section 50 payable on late payment of RCM liability if ITC of RCM paid is also taken in the same month? Yeah, so if you are paying RCM after a delay, say I made a payment to an advocate in the month of April, but I'm paying the RCM, I'm depositing the RCM only in the month of August. Okay, so from my ledger, it is very clear that the legal expenses have been paid in the month of April, but I made the RCM payment in August. So in this case, interest will be applicable on the delay in payment of the RCM, because it doesn't matter when we have availed the ITC, August or April, because interest is on the liability, the time when government got the delay, government got the interest after the delay. So government should have got the amount by 20th of May, but now they are getting the amount only on 20th of August. So for that delay, interest has to be paid because the RCM was paid after the delay. Yeah, yes, Mr. Prashant, you are right. CGST offices are issuing manual ASMT-10 and 12 in many states, but slowly now they are rolling to online, and we expect that it will happen online, because now many states who are issuing manually, they are also coming under the online module gradually. So that is a matter of time when it is happening. Yeah, but many states were issuing, and also some states are issuing still the ASMT-10. Entire module is in manual only right now. Okay, so Mr. Avinash is saying whether ASMT-10 requires a DIN. Yes, it requires a DIN because if it's issued by the central tax authorities or state tax authorities where DIN is made compulsory, DIN is required because it's an information, it's a notice which is being issued to the particular taxpayer. So DIN is compulsory in that particular case. Okay, is there any chance? Yeah, person who's entered with a Galaxy named mobile phone Galaxy. So the thing is that you can always get an extension, as we have said, that if 30 days are not over, then it is within the proper officer's right to give an extension. But what you have to do is you have to ask for that extension by filing a reply, by sending a reply and uploading that particular reply in your portal, wherein you mention that I need further time of 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, whatever time is. But remember that overall time should not exceed 30 days. Because going beyond 30 days is a very rare situation, but you can always get an extension for ASMT-10 if you can file a reply online and also inform the officer through mail. That is also a very safe mode. If IGST invoice raised but paid CGST, SGST of the state. No, sir, there is a question on credit. So question is that invoice is raised with IGST, but you have availed the credit under CGST, SGST. I understand you mean to say there is no loss to the government, but unfortunately, sir or madam, how it happens is that the settlement of the funds, it depends on whether it's a IGST liability or a SGST, CGST credit. So when you are getting an invoice of IGST, that means the other state has transferred IGST payment to the state, to the incoming state. So if the incoming state, they take it as CGST, SGST liability, then settlement will not be proper. And so one of the states, one of the governments, they'll get a lesser amount. So that's why they may tell that, you reverse the CGST, SGST and avail the IGST if it is in time. So, ideally, if somebody is issuing me a IGST credit, I cannot and should not avail it as CGST, SGST. Okay, there are two hand raised also. Ajay Ghosh Kumar. Sir, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Ankit, please mute.
Yes.
Other participant. Please mute other participant.
Okay.
There is a noise disturbing.
I think, Ajay Ghosh Kumar and 1+ EB2. You have raised your hand. You can. Yeah.
Ankit, please unmute Ajay Ghosh. Sir,
Okay,
we
so-
can move forward, sir.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can move onwards.
We have received an ASMT-10 for one of our clients. The notice is not proper, as no discrepancy in a return has been pointed out in that. As no table showing a discrepancy. Only the officer is intimated the adjournment process the initiate for the above the following documents. Yes. So whoever has asked this query that they have received the requirement for books of accounts, please don't give any books of accounts and clearly quote section 61(1) and tell that this is a verification of my returns with whatever details I have furnished to you. So you cannot ask any additional documents for the scrutiny of notices. So request you to kindly drop all proceedings in that regard because because once you submit the documents, then discrepancies are noticed, then a fresh show cause notice may be issued. Based on whatever evidence you have given. Okay, another interesting thing which has been asked right now, that ASMT-10 personal hearing has been given. Sirs and madams, please do note, under ASMT-10, there is no provision of personal hearing. Please refer to section 61 and rule 99. There is no provision for personal hearing. So if any officer tells you, proper officer tells you to come for a personal hearing, please do keep it in writing that though no rules or section prescribe personal hearing for scrutiny of returns, we are furnishing the following. Since no rules or sections prescribe any provision of personal hearing, we are giving our entire submission in form of writing and give all the reply in writing only. Please don't depend on any personal hearing because there is no provision of personal hearing under section 61 or rule 1999 also. Okay, so Pratik Patel is asking, after replying ASMT-10, we have accepted liability, then officer issuing DRC-01. Okay. So, sir, you're asking a question from section 80, installment of tax payable. See, when is installment of tax payable allowed? It is only allowed in case of assessed tax and where no recovery of tax has started. Please do remember these two things. Installment will be allowed only in case of assessed tax. Assessed tax means tax assessed by the department. So in your case, since you have accepted and they have issued the DRC-01, now they issue the DRC-07. So as soon as they issue the DRC-07, please file the form for installment and write an application to the commissioner saying as to why you need the installment, and also make it sure that before you apply for the installment, no recovery proceedings start against you, because that is very dangerous. Okay, so that is very dangerous. If the recovery proceedings start, then you cannot apply for an installment. But otherwise, if the proper officer issues a DRC-07, then you can always go for installment against a particular demand, and the commissioner, you're going to have to write to the learned commissioner, who would be happy to grant you installment if it is, within his jurisdiction, and if he feels that installment would help the taxpayer in getting relieved of the tax liability. In our region, officers are considering the invoices which are not considered in books as escape turnover. How to counter this argument? Okay, so invoices which are not considered in books. Okay. So how can, yeah, Mr. Narendra, I am not sure about this. Invoices who are not, which are not considered in books means. Okay, acha, acha, acha. Is it the, can you share whether it's the purchase invoices? Because I'm not clear about that. Whether it is the purchase invoices which you have not booked. Okay.
Yes, it's purchase.
Yeah, got it. I got it. Yeah. So yes, so you have to just remember here that if I have not booked the purchase invoices in my books, and that means I have not made the payments also. That is one situation. Other situation is somebody has wrongly shown a particular invoice in his GSTR one, which is wrongly come to me. It is not in my GSTN, but they have shown it wrongly in my one. So in their one, so it is coming in my 2A. So in this case, please do give an argument that I have not received any supply from him. And how can we prove that? I have not made any payment to him against the particular invoice. So if I have not made the payment to him, then it is not my purchases only. And if I have not made any purchases, then where is the question of this turnover being escaped remains? Though this is the first logic that since I have not made any purchase order to him or I have not made any payment to him, therefore that invoice does not belong to me. That is the first thing. Second thing, for making a turnover, what happens, I have to make it to a third party from whom I have to receive the payment. So since I have not received any payment, that cannot be considered as my escape turnover. Just because if I have to show any turnover, I have to show it in my GSTR one so that the person in front, he or she gets the credit. So either without that, they are not going to allow me to raise invoice to them. So that's why this assumption, because it is wonderfully said in many judgments, the High Court judgment, that law cannot be based on assumption and presumption. That, okay, you have not shown the purchase invoice for 10 laptops. That means these 10 laptops have been sold by you. This is merely a presumption and not based on the facts. And therefore, you have to counter that only on facts that this is my bank statement. Please show me where I have made the payment to them. Right? And only because somebody is uploading in the one, it cannot come, it is coming in my 2A. That does not mean that it is a purchase which have not been shown by me. Okay, so CAPD, he is saying that we have invoice of IGST claimed acha, that is a different thing. Okay. So here the thing is that the recipient has got an IGST invoice and also claimed under the IGST only, but seller has uploaded it in CGST and GST. Yeah. So in this case, you can always defend. We are defending this on the basis of the invoice, saying that, you know, it is a mistake by the supplier. So whatever has to be done at his end. He has to pay the taxes, because if he has raised the IGST invoice, he should have actually paid IGST instead of CGST, SGST. So since he has uploaded CGST, SGST, so he has to now reverse that and pay it again in IGST. But in my case, the thing is that I have already received the bill from him for IGST, and all the place of supply conditions are also fulfilled for IGST, and therefore IGST credit can be availed by me. That is what we can take. And yes, as Ankit was telling, I am also sure that I have personally been benefited from the update that I've been receiving from GST Corner, whether it's about the daily news or the advanced rulings that I'm getting. Or also now I should congratulate GST Corner for the wonderful shots they are making on the case laws.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
So especially we are getting quickly the ideas. So I think it's a wonderful idea, and all the members, they are hugely benefited, which is clearly shown from the huge presence today. Just आपने बताया कि tomorrow 30th June is the last date. And in spite of that, today also we had more than 230 participants.
And sir, the important is that more than 100 participants are at the last stages of 15 minutes, sir.
Yes, so I think
currently the presence is 110, sir, at 650.
Well, I think, yeah, so that is also a huge thing. So I think, thank you everyone. It really shows. And if you have any further question, I'll be happy to answer. You can send it to GST Corner. You have their mail ID and the phone numbers also. You can always send it, and I will reply it back to GST Corner, and they'll send it to you. So there is no problem. And I really congratulate GST Corner for being one of the pioneers in disseminating knowledge on GST, because GST में हम लोगों का जो मेन प्रॉब्लम है वो कि नॉलेज का इशू है. इतने सारे चेंजेस फटाफट होते हैं. कोई वंदे भारत छोड़ रहा है, कोई राजधानी, कोई शताब्दी छूट रहा है, तो इतने सारे ट्रेन एक साथ छूट रहे हैं तो पकड़ना मुश्किल हो जाता है.
Sir,
तो
thank you
उसमें
very much, sir. Thank you very
GST
much,
कॉर्नर
sir.
आता है अपने हेल्प में कि एक एक ट्रेन की एक बॉगी को हमको दिखाते हैं कि सर ये ले लो आप, आर का है, ये है, मतलब आर का ये समरी है, केस लॉ का ये समरी है. So I think it's really a huge benefit that you are doing and a huge service. And thanks to everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us and enlightening with your knowledge on SMT-10 and other notices issued under GST. And this is the one of the best webinars, sir. Actually, the case study you have taken and the queries you are taken is very smooth and understanding very much to us, sir. And hopefully, the participants are also benefited with this. Now, I am on behalf of the GST Corner. I extend our heartfelt gratitude to CA Arup Das Gupta sir for sharing your valuable insights and expertise during this webinar. Your knowledge has undoubtedly enriched our understanding of this crucial subject matter. And I am also express our sincere appreciation to our esteemed audience for actively participating and asking query on subject matter and contributing to the success of this webinar. Your questions, comments, and experience have added immense value to our collective learning, sir. Thank you all, and we look forward to your continued support in our upcoming events, sir. Thank you very much, sir, and the participants for this grand success, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
And have a wonderful day ahead, time ahead, evening.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.